Good evening, Rams! And welcome back to the nerdiest and spookiest show on the air. I'm Tom Isaacson.
And I'm Alex Prast. We have a lot to cover tonight, starting with a whole lot of nerd news. From new castings and recent retirees, to Steam Tech and horror records set, we've got you covered.
After that, we'll check your knowledge and see just how much you know about the computers that you use every day. Your PCs, Macs, smartphones, and the device you're using to watch our show tonight.
Has finally released.
We'll break down the exciting new trailer for The Last of Us, which revealed some exciting Easter eggs and first looks at small details in the upcoming series. After that, Tom will bless us with another round of Tom Talks TV Tonight and movies.
And to wrap it all up, we got to talk about the current state of the DCEU and Warner Bros. Because it is complicated.
All this and more starting right now. Harrison Ford is making his mark on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The legendary actor will step in as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, replacing the late William Hurt for 2024's Captain America New World Order, starring Anthony Mackie. The fourth Captain America movie follows the events of the 2021 Disney Plus series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The show's head writer, Malcolm Spellman, wrote the screenplay with staff writer Dalen Moson and Julius Ona, who previously worked on Loose and The Cloverfield Paradox, is directing. It does not appear, however, that Ford is set to star in Thunderbolts, Marvel's anti-hero team-up film that is scheduled to immediately follow Captain America 4. Hurt first played Ross in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's second-ever film, 2008's The Incredible Hulk, as a U.S. Army general who was key in transforming scientist Bruce Banner into the Hulk. Ross then spends the rest of the movie hunting Banner. We look forward to seeing what Ford will bring to the role.
Last year saw the release of Valve Software's latest bit of hardware, the Steam Deck, a handheld gaming console that's less console and more Honey, I Shrunk the PC. Well, after a successful launch and reception, the Steam Deck has not only foregone the order reservation process, but has also launched a new companion accessory. The Steam Deck docking station, or as I'm calling it, the Steam Dock, is a docking station specifically made for the Steam Deck. Not only will it charge the device, but it will also allow you to connect to dozens of peripherals, connecting to things like external displays for TV games and playing on a larger monitor, mice and keyboard support, Ethernet, and so much more. You can turn your powerful handheld gaming solution into a full-fledged PC. I, for one, am really excited. To me, this is the one feature the Steam Deck was really missing, and now it's harder than ever to say no to another tech purchase. Thankfully, however, I think my bank account will be able to say no for me.
We're continuing to keep you updated on the public trial of Ezra Miller's recent conduct. The actor recently entered the Vermont courts to begin deliberation on their actions over a recent burglary. The Flash star pleaded not guilty on October 17th. Miller has been charged with burglary into an occupied home and petite larceny. They face up to 26 years in prison if convicted. The felony burglary charge has a maximum of 25 years in prison and a $1,000 fine. The larceny charge has a maximum of 1 year in prison, as well as another $1,000 fine. In August, Miller apologized for their past behavior and began undergoing mental health treatment. In a statement, Miller said, "Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life." Miller's DC movie The Flash is set for release on June 23, 2023, after numerous delays. We are unsure of what will happen next. We don't know what studio Warner Bros. Discovery will do in response. Until then, we will keep you updated.
Marvel always does what they can do to stay ahead of DC, which isn't exactly hard. And the last 2 days are no different. After Black Adam premiered in theaters and released one very exciting post-credit scene, Marvel Studios has released 2 trailers of their own back-to-back. On Monday, we got our first look into Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The trailer depicts a grown-up Cassie Lang, Ant-Man's daughter, showing off some new quantum technology to the main characters. However, something that has gone wrong rather quickly, and the group finds themselves in the quantum realm, a secret universe below ours. We also got to see a look at Kang the Conqueror, who will almost certainly give Thanos a run for his money as the next big bad. However, on a lighter note, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special trailer just dropped, and the tone couldn't be further from Quantumania. Mantis, one of the Guardians, wants to make Star-Lord's earthly tradition of Christmas one to remember after losing Gamora in the battle against Thanos. Mantis and Drax the Destroyer decide to bring a little bit of Christmas cheer to Star-Lord by paying a visit to Earth and seeing what, or rather, who, they can find to accomplish their mission. And the reveal in the trailer is baking us crazy. We don't really know what else to expect from this holiday special, but after the success of Werewolf by Night, which I personally loved, it's sure to be a fun Marvel project.
Ever heard of Basic with ads? No. We aren't talking about Tom's everyday clothes with his favorite tech brands on the front. We're talking about Netflix's new subscription tier. The streaming giant is offering an ad-based tier for the first time in its 15-year history. Now, users can pay $6.99 per month to enjoy Netflix with the Basic with Ads plan, as opposed to the standard $15.49. On top of seeing advertisements for an average of 4 minutes per hour, subscribers will no longer be able to download titles. Netflix also announced that a number of movies and TV shows will not be available under the plan due to licensing restrictions, which may change in the future. Until then, the net amount of flicks we'll be able to watch will be greatly reduced. The new subscription option will launch in the US on November 3rd at 10 in the morning Mountain Time.
Just under 3 months ago, writer and director James Gunn walked the red carpet at San Diego Comic-Con as a Disney employee, ready to give a first look at his third Marvel film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's not wrong, of course, but now Gunn may have a slight conflict of interest. Gunn, as well as longtime manager turned producer Peter Safran, are set to take the reins of the DC Entertainment Universe as co-chairman and chief executive officers. The movie also comes with a name change for the Marvel Studios rival from DC Films to DC Studios, might as well call it Kroger brand. Gunn and Safran will control the creative direction of the company's arsenal of comic book heroes and villains across film, TV, streaming, animation, and beyond. The pair will have to find new ways to compete with Marvel, the studio that both placed Gunn onto the director A-list and created the gold standard for cinematic universes. At the same time, they will have to find ways to manage costs at a time when DC's parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery, prefers to operate on a tight budget. It makes us CTV Geeks wonder, will DC pull off the franchise comeback of the century? Because if not, this could be curtains for Warner Bros., which would just be so tragic.
James Earl Jones is retiring his Vader voice, or at least he's not going to read Vader's lines anymore. The 91-year-old actor's family recently announced that he would no longer be voicing the galaxy's Lord of the Sith after 50 years of voice work. Lucasfilm enlisted the assistance of Respeecher, a Ukrainian startup that uses AI technology to craft new conversations from revitalized old voice recordings. Respeecher's relationship with Lucasfilm began with the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, where they recreated the voice of young Luke Skywalker. The two also teamed for the voice performance of Darth Vader on the series Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan actually premiered 2 days later than originally intended, and it is thought that the odd delay length was a result of the Ukraine-based sound studio being caught up in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Nonetheless, the series still premiered to resounding viewership, and Respeech remains Lucasfilm's partner as they navigate a franchise without its Dark Lord.
Alright geeks, that's all the nerd news we had for you today. Let's take a quick break, then we'll dive into the exciting history of arguably the most valuable tool of our time, computers. Stay tuned.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
You may be watching us CTV Geeks from your TV at home, your laptop in the LSC, or even laying on the floor with your smartphone. We owe computers a lot for getting us on your screens. on top of so many other things.
Yes, we do, Alex. Technology has come quite a long way to get where we are today. But something that put everything into perspective for me was an article I read online, which led me down a pretty long rabbit hole. By the end of it, I knew I wanted to share, what I discovered with you as well. So, here's the question. How much do you know about the history of computers? An interesting statistic came out recently that said that most modern smartphones today are over 1,000 times more powerful than the most powerful supercomputer from 1983, the Cray XMP. Now, you might hear that and think, duh, of course it's more powerful. That was 40 years ago, but I want you to stop and consider the following. That supercomputer was the size of a typical American master bedroom, but now we have that power sitting in our pocket times 1,000, maybe even more. And if you want to think of it this way, we can take that same size room used for just one computer and absolutely fill it with hundreds of computers that are thousands of times more powerful. So all of this got me thinking, how far have we actually progressed over the decades with modern technology? Instead of looking forward to the future, let's take a look back into the past. Let's take this computer as an example. This is from 2007, and back in the day it was used as an engineering workstation to design complex structures and intricate machinery, and now it can't even run most modern versions of the program, let alone a game from like the last, 10 years. That's a long, long time. And what's really fascinating is that all of these specs in here and all these components were actually outdated about 5 years after this machine was built, because this is running on DDR2 memory. That's about 3 generations behind what is used today. Now let's talk about something kind of interesting. In the 90s, PCs were less of a crazy science fiction item and were more common in households than ever. And of course, this gave rise to PC gaming, and all of that culminated in 1993 with the release of one game. Doom. And the revolutions this game had for modern first-person shooters aside, this game had some pretty demanding specifications back in the day. You needed a whole 8 megabytes of RAM, a processor that could get up to 66 megahertz as a minimum, and about 40 megabytes of free space. Given what you probably know about modern computers today, this seems kinda silly. This could run on anything, you might think, and we will get back to that, but remember, back then a computer meeting just these minimum requirements made it pretty advanced and sophisticated for the time. But nowadays, Doom's requirements are so low that it can actually run on anything. Since 2015, most machines ship with about 8 gigabytes of RAM, and processors that are measured in gigahertz, and nowadays we measure storage in terabytes. That means that most modern systems can run Doom no problem. Don't believe me? Here's Doom running on an Apple Watch, on a smart fridge, a scientific calculator, an ATM, a printer, and a treadmill. Doom literally running on a treadmill. Literally. I literally just got back from filming this entire video segment when my friend sent me something so interesting, I had to share it. Check this out. This is 1993's Doom running on a digital pregnancy test. Originally, I was going to leave you with something kind of dramatic, which was that original supercomputer that I mentioned at the start of all of this, the Cray XMP, wasn't advanced enough to even load the Doom title screen. But now I can say something even more dramatic. Technically speaking, a digital pregnancy test that is commonly used today is technically more advanced than a supercomputer that was used for deep space physics calculations. So, what is the point in any of this? Why am I talking about this? Well, I think it's so interesting to think about how far technology has actually come. Because again, when you think about it, we've gone from computers that take up entire rooms to computers that are so much more powerful and yet they fit right in your pocket. And then hundreds of thousands of times more powerful and they just sit on your desk. It really goes to show just what the potential for the future is. Looking forward, it's so easy to say, that'll never happen, that's impossible, that's hundreds of years away, it's never gonna happen. But maybe it is possible. Maybe 30, 40 years down the line, we'll actually have things like holograms and artificial intelligence and starships, which actually gives me a good idea for next time. But for now, let's head back to the studio.
Tom, that is absolutely incredible. I mean, Doom running on a pregnancy test, that's pretty hardcore.
I know. I couldn't believe it either, and I saw that and I was like, well, there goes my entire script for that segment. We're just going to have to include that part. So it was absolutely phenomenal, and doing the research for this is really crazy. Like 40 years. Of course you think we've made some progress, but how much progress? A lot.
It's nuts. Even like a computer from a couple years ago runs slow today. It's wild how fast we're moving.
I know. Now, Alex, I mentioned how computers are here to stay, but I think there's a whole genre of fiction that disagrees with me, and that would be post-apocalyptic fiction.
Well, Tom, not a whole lot of computers work when the planet is in shambles, and that is especially true for the upcoming HBO Max series, The Last of Us. The trailer for the series released just a handful of weeks ago, but that means we had just enough time to sort through the teaser and find out what we might have missed.
The long-awaited trailer for the HBO Max show Last of Us has finally released. With only 2 minutes of footage, this is lining up to maybe be the greatest video game adaptation of all time. With that being said, a full conversation can be had about every frame in this trailer, so I'm just going to break down the top 5 biggest moments and details. Let's hop right in. The first detail is noticeable right off the bat for die-hard Last of Us fans. The music that is playing in the trailer is Alone and Forsaken by Hank Williams.
The roses have faded, there's frost at my door. The birds in the morning don't sing anymore.
This was actually hand-chosen by the game's creator, Neil Druckmann, and was featured in a scene in the game.
Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
We actually see the live-action version of this scene in the trailer, but more on that later. The next reveal we have to talk about is Joel and Ellie's costume design. Their looks are so faithful to the source material, even down to the duct tape on Joel's backpack, or even Ellie's iconic red t-shirt. The third reveal that fans have been waiting for are a lot of the side characters. We get our first very quick glimpses at Bill, played by Nick Offerman, Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, Tess, played by Anna Torv, and even more and faster glimpses at characters such as Marlene, the leader of the Fireflies, Riley from The Last of Us Left Behind DLC, Henry and Sam from the Pittsburgh chapter, and even a new character we have not quite seen before. This is one of the first teases we get to see some new events, as it has been confirmed this is a different version of the story we got in the PS3 title, with Neil Druckmann even saying, quote, "Some of my favorite episodes so far have deviated greatly from the story, and I can't wait for people to see them." Any fan of The Last of Us easily saw this next detail we have to point out. At number 4, most of the shots in the trailer are taken directly from the game. There's Joel, Ellie, and Tess hiding from clickers in the museum. Joel and Ellie standing on the roof of a building looking at the sunrise.
Can't deny that view.
Come on, this way.
Even a short glimpse at the ambush scene in Pittsburgh, which I mentioned earlier, since that exact scene is where the music from this trailer comes from. The biggest reveal of the trailer, the one we've all been waiting for, stands at number 5. We finally got a clear look at the Clicker, The Last of Us's iconic zombie creature in live action, and it looks amazing! In this universe, the zombie infection is based on a fungi called cordyceps, so the designs of the creatures get to deviate greatly from the norm, even including fungal plating and bright colors. The third phase of these creatures is called the Clicker, as it's lost its ability to see and uses clicks as a form of echolocation. You can actually hear some of these clicks earlier in the trailer during the museum scene. It seems they're pushing for a more practical and makeup-based look as opposed to CGI, and I am here for it. While there is so much I can talk about from this trailer, those are the 5 biggest things I had to break down and point out. Back to you guys in the studio.
I mean, I usually don't have a lot of confidence when it comes to video game adaptations in TV and film, but holy cow, that looks outstanding.
Tom, I can't even express how excited I am for this. This is my favorite video game ever. I literally just a week ago finished playing Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 all over again for like the 200th time. I'm so pumped. Literally so much of this trailer reveals a lot about the show, and I'm so excited.
No, I think it's going to be really good. Well, The Last of Us releases sometime in 2023, but for now, it's time to take a quick break before we talk about the most recent successes in TV and movies. We'll be right back after these messages.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's so good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. My name is Tom, and it's time for Tom Talks TV Tonight. And we're going to dive straight in and talk about the movies set to be released over the next few months to finish out 2022, as well as a few of our favorites to come out in early 2023, which is scary how close that is. All right, let's get started with a film I am really excited for, Black Panther 2. Now, I don't think I was the only one truly devastated when I heard about the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman. When he joined the MCU, he became one of the greats, and his casting call as the Black Panther falls in line with the likes of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine. You just can't see anyone else in those roles. However, because of his unfortunate passing, the mantle of Black Panther must be passed on, and I cannot wait to see who it goes to next. Now, we here at CTV Geeks think it's going to be Shuri, the younger sister of T'Challa, and while we don't want to get too far into theory territory just yet, the evidence is definitely there. Namor, the legendary Atlantean, is set to be the film's main villain, which has excited fans like Alex to no end. Overall, this is an MCU film I have high hopes for, and I can't wait for it to come out. Now, Marvel isn't the only one coming out with more superhero flicks. Now with Black Adam in theaters, the next Shazam is also well on the way. Following up the, at least in my opinion, 2019 hit, Zachary Levi is back as the titular hero, Shazam. The first movie was a comedic breath of fresh air after the lackluster DC films that came before it, and I really hope the same is true for this long-awaited sequel. Levi is joined by the Shazam kids, fellow orphans like Billy Batson, who are also imbued with the powers of Shazam. His powers split up, however, between them based upon their personalities. Now, even though Black Adam just came out and is Shazam's main villain in the comics, Dwayne Johnson has actually refused to appear as Black Adam in the film. So, unfortunately, we won't be seeing him again anytime soon, but it will be a great time either way, at least I hope. Now, of course, we can't talk about movies coming out to wrap up 2022 without mentioning the long-awaited sequel, since we've been waiting nearly 12 years for it, Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, of course, I'll be there to see it, but I gotta be honest, it's just not the movie I'm the most excited to see. I mean, maybe if it was coming out like, 5 years ago, I'd be a little bit more excited, but I think the wait has just been far too long for the hype to be maintained. Nonetheless, I have to say the CGI looks especially spectacular, so maybe there's a reason it took so long to come out. It must have taken them just 3 years to render this thing. Returning is Jake Sully and Neytiri, along with some newcomers in a, you guessed it, water-themed adventure. It appears that humans are also back on Pandora, and that there are a lot of them. It's going to be odd to explain this one, but I can't pass judgment on a movie that hasn't come out yet. And then again, I had these same sort of questions ahead of the Matrix sequel, so maybe I should trust my gut given how that last one went. And finally, to wrap things up, we have... Seriously? Do I have to do this one? Can we just... No? Okay. The producers are saying no, so I guess let's talk about the new Super Mario Bros. Movie. Let's get it up on the screen. Yep. There it is. There's Chris Pratt as Mario. The culmination of years of work from Nintendo and Illumination. There it is. So pretty. Oh, and look! The clip is over because we don't want Nintendo copyright claiming the entire show. Now, the Geeks team has said that I shouldn't be entirely doom and gloom about the movie when it hasn't come out, so I will say two nice things about it. Number one, the animation and art style does look pretty awesome. Much, much better than I was expecting. And secondly, I'm actually all in on Jack Black as Bowser. I think that's going to be a blast. That said, this seems like it's going to be a cringe fest, full of dated references, bad jokes, and lazier puns than the one Holly puts in the script. I mean, take a look at this poster. Tell me this doesn't look like the trailer poster for the Emoji Movie, which, as we all know, was totally a commercial success. Everybody loved that one. Now, of course, you can expect us geeks to go and check it out this upcoming April, and we will give you our thoughts when we do. But for now, that's all the time we have for Tom Talks TV tonight. Before we head back to the desk and chat with Alex, let's take a quick break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. Black Adam released in theaters this past weekend to dismal critical reviews and a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. And yet, audiences seem to adore the film, giving a certified fresh 90% audience rating.
The last time we saw a critic-to-audience score gap like this was for the likes of Venom in 2017. In the context of DC movies, critics' Black Adam score is tied with Joss Whedon's version of Justice League. Meanwhile, fans are scoring the Dwayne Johnson movie higher than every DC project except for Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. I know, it's confusing. The DCEU is really weird.
But what's weirder is the DC Entertainment Universe's boss, Warner Brothers Discovery. See, it's just nuts. Like, what are they doing?
I don't know. And the response to Black Adam, I feel like it's the same kind of response we saw to Uncharted, where I think that these, latte drinking, film snobs just don't know how to have fun at a good blockbuster superhero
It's just for
movie.
fun. It's overpowered characters fighting other overpowered characters. And let me tell you, I'm so excited to finally see a little bit of the Justice Society on the big screen with, Dr. Fate and Hawkman. So pumped.
Dr. Fate is definitely the thing I am the most excited for. But we got to talk a little bit more about what's going on with DC because, and really it's Warner Brothers' fault because they've only put out 2 movies this year.
Yeah.
Black Adam and Don't Worry, Darling. And you know what that smells like to me?
Broke.
Pennies and dimes, dude. Like, it's not good for them over there.
It is not good. I mean, if they're having to penny pinch and only release these 2 movies, which didn't get amazing reviews, it's not looking good. It's really not. And it's making me nervous for the future of DC, especially with what recently happened with Batgirl.
Yeah.
I mean, such an incredible film reportedly, with such an amazing cast, especially Leslie Grace, who plays Batgirl, and she did such amazing things, and all of a sudden it gets scrapped. But then you look at the Flash movie, and Ezra Miller, they're a menace, and that movie's still happening. It's got to make you think, what is WB thinking?
If they're so not confident in the Batgirl movie, first of all, why did you make it in the first place? And secondly, what about the Flash? That doesn't get the axe, but Batgirl does. I guess, I don't know what to say about this. I've never liked Warner Bros. I think, after the Matrix sequel, it's all been downhill. And with these latest moves, all it's saying to me is that they're making lackluster films and it's starting to catch up with them.
Yeah.
The Hollywood trope of sequels and prequels, it's not working for them anymore.
It's all just cash grabs. And it makes me really, really nervous for the future going forward of what's next. Now, the biggest thing I'm really concerned about is Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, I'm so excited to see Zolo from Cobra Kai. But if Batgirl, who's a lesser known character, probably at the same level of Blue Beetle, gets the axe, I really hope to see it, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, and like I talked about in Tom Talks TV, Shazam is on the way, and when that first movie came out, I was super into it. I actually thought it was really fun and, a good adventure, but who knows what Shazam 2 will look like, especially given, the audience reaction versus the critics' reaction to Black Adam. It could be a war zone or it could be really good. The only time will tell, and it's really up in the air for Warner Brothers. I mean, anything could happen by the time we're on the air next. I mean, we could invent a car that runs on jelly, or Warner Brothers could dissolve.
Well, one part I am really, really excited about is Batman. We've still got the whole Matt Reeves universe to explore. We've got even the Joker sequel that's coming out soon. There are some bright lights at the end of the tunnel, so who knows?
Yeah.
It could end up being amazing. It could all fall apart. Like you said, only time can tell.
Only time will tell. Well, geeks, speaking of time, it is about that time again.
That's right, Tom. We love touching on some national nerd news with you on this October episode of CTV Geeks, as well as breaking down exciting news stories and trying to figure out what Warner Brothers is up to.
Which no one knows. We'll see you next month on November 23rd at 7 p.m. for the final episode of the semester. You won't want to miss it.
Until then, have a great night. Stay classy, Rams.